This is the EST Hangout. I am shocking a few people who hate my cold intros. We are working on an intro for this show, but there it is, the cold intro once again. The EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar, available in both original variety 12 packs. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with you here on the Hangout, and joining us today, we got some returning guests, Murray McCourt from the Ranch, as well as the VIP Golf Show, and Dave Jamieson, who's just our
from
godfather,
nowhere,
basically.
From absolutely
just
nowhere.
Our godfather.
But
we just call you
just
that.
walk out. Thank you, Murray. Who hates a cold open?
Well, no, it's like, because there's like, it's just like on the audio stream, there's Whale and the Wolf playing, then all of a sudden it's just my voice. And here on YouTube, there's just, it says EST will begin shortly, and then it's my voice. Like, we do need some sort of like musical or something going like, hey, do or whatever, and then play, and we're working on that. But there is just like, it's all of a sudden, boom, I'm talking.
Saturday Night Live has had a cold open pretty much since it started. So if it works for them,
it's pretty successful.
It's pretty successful, Murray, yes.
Dave, as you know, you're not that far removed from it. You can't please everybody.
Go to the text line.
Please,
People text negative things? Come on, that never happens.
I will say, actually, weirdly enough, though, our text line here in our nasty chat has been wonderful.
It has been.
Compared to what we dealt with at 1260.
Wow, yeah.
Like, all the crap of 1260 stayed there. It feels like. It's like, you would be shocked, Dave, at the inbox that we have. Like, because it's like, I think that there's been some fair disagreements.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been even a moment where any of us have thought, that person needs to be just banned for life.
Well, I wonder if there's something in that the people who are here watching this or you know, Dusty or what Tom does are here because they want to be here. They're making, you know, I would suggest, not that it's difficult to find you guys, a more of an investment in terms of their time. You know, whereas you can throw on the radio and be driving down, you know, whatever the Henday, matters not, and get work up an enraged lather, you know, as people did with our show, and that's always been the case with talk radio. I just wonder if it's because it's a different medium. I know you're essentially doing a radio station here, just in a different way. I just wonder if it's some sort of, it speaks to the changed relationship between listener, viewer, and what you had on traditional radio.
Yeah, I would say, looking at that, like, traditional radio, like one argument is, why are you listening if you hate this? We never understood that. Like, if we really bother you, if you really can't stand us, why are you tuned in right now? Why are you enduring this? But at the same time, it's just on your car. For us, it's that one extra step you need to play us in your car or wherever you are.
2 buttons instead of one.
2 buttons, but that it's just enough that you have to want to listen to us. You can't just fall in. We're not going to just fall into your lap and you're listening to us.
You're likely not on a preset, and you go, "Oh, I've heard, you know, we built this city for the 17,000th time. I'll punch to AM. Oh, it's the talk station. Oh, those idiots are talking about Puljujarvi again." Right? So,
well, the first time I got a crazy negative text, someone chirping me on my golf show when it was on TSN.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck is this? And Hernan Salas was my producer at the time, and he says, hey, buddy, that means you've made it in radio. If you get someone that chirps you like that, and all I did was text him back through the text line and say, well, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.
Sure.
And what else do you do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nanso was right. Like, that's where you get your first taste of it. Like, when you guys were nice enough to let me get a shot at 1260, it was the same way, Maria. Like, I'm like, well, I just came from Oilers TV. Like, I thought everybody generally liked me. And then, boom, it's like, this idiot, this guy doesn't know anything. And I'm like, ouch.
Yeah.
And I had gotten some flack years before too, but it's a different beast. And
it's very personal. I mean, I'm not drawing and doing radio, sports talk radio in this case is not akin to playing in the NHL or playing professional football. But, you know, I heard it during my time with the Eskimos, you know, you haven't really arrived until you've got blown up. You know, you're running down on special teams and you're the gunner. You haven't, until you've been ear-holed, you haven't really played pro yet until you've gone through one of those, oh my God, where am I kind of moments. And those are, you know, the equivalent on talk radio when you get that first text that, you know, because you get a lot of love initially from your friends and family, like, man, you sound great. And then it's a hard network out when someone comes in and just absolutely rabbit punches you.
Yeah, I remember I floated it to you guys, and you guys were like, "Yeah, welcome to the station, idiot." Like, but this is what we deal with.
We were the ones
day.
testing you.
Yes.
But
Shut up, Tommy, you stupid.
But isn't it awesome though when you're at a hockey game, you're anywhere in public, and people that you have no idea who they are just come up to you and say, "Hey, I listen to your show every
Right.
week, and Mike every week, or your show every day, or whatever,
Yeah.
and I just love listening to it. Like, thanks for what you do." Like,
Yeah.
like wow, that's the opposite side of the.
See, and I
gosh,
sort
are you an idiot? Texts that come in.
I got almost an opposite of that though. Me, Eric, Lucas, and Ryan, we went for Watch Canada World Cup qualifying for their first game out to a venue. And me and Eric promoted, like, hey, we're going to go to this place to go watch this game. And, like, right close to the end of this game, this one guy walks up to us. And he's just like, which one of you's Iwanyk? And we're like, this could go very bad. Like, uh-oh.
He is.
And then I was like, me. And he's like, thanks for letting me know that this was happening. I didn't know. And it went as good as it could have. But at one moment, it was very close to, let's go outside. We need a chat. Crap.
It is kind of neat though. Like sometimes you're not sure what the reaction is going to be. You can see like the side eye, and you're like, oh, maybe I'm going to get just chewed out for something I said.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, hey, what'd you think of the power play tonight? And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, it was good.
But I have done this a long time, talking for dollars, and growing up and working in Vancouver. I mean, this is pre-cell phone, pre-text line. So whatever incoming, unfriendly fire you were going to absorb doing a sports talk show or doing news as I did, it was person to person. It was voice to voice. Someone would call you.
Yeah.
If there was a guy when I used to work in Vancouver at CKNW, a guy who would call me. He just hated my voice.
Yeah.
And I would do morning news, and this guy would, not all the time, but he would just, and I pick it up, NW News, Dave Jamieson, and this guy would launch into me. And one day I said, well, if you don't like me as much as you claim to, why don't you come down and meet me here? We're at 815 McBride Plaza. Come to the back of the building. It was not a smart move on my part. But then again, we weren't sort of dealing with
a
the
different area.
overheated climate, right?
Correct.
It was just this guy that couldn't stand me. It was,
JMO, quick question for you. You did news. I did news for 2 years before I got into sports full time. I found myself like depressed, not depressed to the point of like I need mental health checks, but like I was like, wow, that was a heavy day because you're talking about the worst crap going on in the world. So it was like a dark cloud doing news.
I really liked it, and maybe that's just something about my personality. But I enjoyed because of where I worked. I mean, we were.
You guys were a
second
powerful beast.
biggest
for news.
radio station in the country outside of Toronto, and we were bigger than. I mean, and I'd say this boastfully, it's the truth, bigger than television stations, and because of the clout we had and the power we had, and so. And the influence at, full news talk station, big talk show hosts, former politicians. I mean, we set the agenda. And so, but I was, trying to crack a veteran lineup. But I loved being in the hustle and bustle and breaking stories and, being on the. It's funny now. I was my claim to fame, but as I was leaving to come to Edmonton, was I was on the air for every breaking thing in the OJ trial.
Oh, fun.
So from the bodies found, I was like somehow timing. Obviously, you never know what's going to come up on your cast, and it was just a kind of a weird thing. It's like, oh God, a car chase? Yeah, I'm on it.
Damn.
Yeah, it was just a weird thing, but I enjoyed the energy of it.
Wasn't the OJ car chase, the Rangers parade, and like a Knicks game all on the same day? There was a 30 for 30 on it.
Yeah, there was the start of the World Cup, I think, in Kansas City.
Right, yes.
There was the Rangers parade. There was a Knicks, I think, Eastern Conference final game.
How young would you guys have been?
I only know from the 30 for 30.
Remember,
because the 30 for 30 was great because there was no words.
Yeah.
There was no narration.
It's a fantastic
They just pieced news stories together and game film together.
It's crazy.
And it just jumps between OJ to all of a sudden here's Bob Costas on in the basketball game saying something about OJ to here's the kickoff of the World Cup. And it was it's like one of the first 30 for 30s that they did. And it was such a cool way that they did it that it's just stuck with me that's what happened on that day.
I remember.
Because I was 94.
94.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I would have only been 3. I wouldn't have any recollection of that day.
I was on air doing why we thought it was a smart thing to do sports on a Friday at like 6 o'clock in Vancouver. Anyhow, I was doing the show and I had Bob Leonarduzzi on. And so I used to work a full, day doing news, and then I would go on this Friday, I would go down and do it work in the evening as well. And I had Bob Leonarduzzi on talking World Cup. And there's CNN Larry King up, on the television, big thick television that you'd have back in the control room. And I remember saying, Bob, with much respect, we have to let you go. We're going to take the chase live.
Yeah.
It was just kind of one of those weird, we just sat back and let Larry King do the show.
Yeah. Well,
Is that the biggest sporting crime event ever? I mean, there's been like Hernandez from the
Aaron
Hernandez.
Hernandez,
Oscar Pistorius, South African runner who killed his girlfriend. I don't think there's
but not
anything like
though.
OJ.
OJ, I think, the whole thing was the trial was all like
And it was so cultural too, right?
Well,
man.
Like it went beyond the actual crime
The
in a sense.
two prosecutors have an affair. I mean, there's like how much craziness went on.
And
with
don't
that
forget,
whole,
OJ was a long time removed from his playing career with the Buffalo Bills. He was a cultural, as a sportscaster, he was in, the airplane with
Naked Gun.
Naked Gun.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an actor, not a particularly good one. Yeah. He was a pitchman. He was very hugely successful selling products.
Yeah.
And then this happens. It's got. I can't think of one that rivals it.
Yeah, I can't either. It's crazy.
Mark
the chase.
Majot one time at 1260 called OJ's jail to try to talk to him.
Oh,
no.
He gave it a shot. He just called him. He's like, "Yeah, can I speak to OJ?" And they wouldn't let him through. He recorded the call and stuff, but he took a shot to see if he could get OJ on the phone.
Well done, Majot.
So
Didn't
Tommy
happen.
G, you talked about working in news and how draining that was. The beginning, 6 weeks of this hockey season, how draining was that for you?
I loved it.
You did love it?
Yes.
Well, your job's a lot easier right now with 14 wins in a row, but I would have thought that's
It's as easy when they're losing as it is.
It's
this
fun,
win streak.
man.
Because it's just
totally cryptic way. It's fun.
let us know what you feel, Oiler fans, and let them just rage.
Yeah, happy fans are boring fans.
Correct.
Yeah.
Happy fans are boring fans.
Yeah.
Like, great respect. And what the Oilers are doing right now, I mean, imagine this in a franchise that has had what we know the success they've enjoyed with the greatest player in the world, Wayne Gretzky. They've never done this.
No.
They've never done this. So imagine that this team is, and obviously we know the assets it has gone places that no other Oiler team has. That's an unbelievable story.
Totally.
Unbelievable story. But fans are happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 4 months ago, who in the world would have predicted that?
No. It's crazy. And Murray, like, I should clarify, like, I loved the post-game shows. The other stuff, being around the rink, it was miserable. Like, and around the city, people are upset because our winters suck. People live and die with the team during the winter. That part of it was like, oh, well, I don't know what the hell's going on. Tom, what about this? Tom, what about that? It's like, well, yeah, I guess. But when we cracked the mics post-game after a loss, the one against San Jose, I vividly remember, and I was just like, this is going to be fun tonight.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun. And you look at the clock, you're like, oh my God, I've been on the air for an hour and 15 minutes. So that part of it was fun. And just the team sucking and draining the energy from what was supposed to be a very big season for this club. That part of it, obviously not so great, but
I remember you guys saying, like, as I listened to most of your, at least a portion of your post-game shows every morning after you post them, but you guys were saying, like, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, how do you analyze these games where it's just the same mistakes over and over and over? And you guys were kind of like almost at a loss for words at times.
Yep.
But then you just let the
let the fans
do the talking for you and vent. Yeah.
And there was some just all-timers this season. Trade Draisaitl for this. Get rid of McDavid and Draisaitl because they're never going to make it happen. This is the reason why, you guys. I know this because I've heard from my brother's sister who was dating a player that was with the team last year and said this. Like, you're just like, okay.
You know what's a story that has gone away? Not a story, a narrative, a thread around the Oilers, given what they've been doing, is Darnell Nurse. Mm-hmm. On many nights, it's not saying I don't notice him, because he's eminently noticeable, but he's not an issue for fans.
9.25 is not being mentioned a lot these days.
9.25. I haven't, unless I'm not going to the right places, nobody talks about him. Nobody talks about how much money he's paid. And there's lots of great things that have happened. Ryan McLeod's emergence, Warren Fogel's assertion that he is an everyday, and on and on and on. There's Skinner, all of that stuff. Like, there's almost too many to list. But just tucked off to the side is, anyone mention Nurse? Anyone? Nope. He's just good.
Yeah.
Okay, next, move on.
Connor Brown, though. Everyone's mentioning Connor Brown still.
He's kind of like the only negative that's going on right now when it comes to Edmonton Oilers.
Boys, he had an assist last night, okay? Lay off.
But like that, like when you look at this lineup as it is right now, look, there's things that could come up still, but there's no real weakness for the Edmonton Oilers except for Connor Brown hasn't scored that goal. Like that's the only negative thing I think you could kind of point to when it comes to this team. And people are naturally just going to now joke about it. I don't think people are. Next year, they'll be upset about it. Like, if he goes this year only scoring 1 or 2 goals or no goals, people are going to be upset about that next year. The cap's gone. But this year, I think it's more joking with just how good the team is at this very moment.
Just think what his personal reaction is going to be when he gets one, right?
Yeah.
Like, what a weight off of his shoulders, and like you'd actually be able to see the weight come off of his shoulders, I think, when he scores it.
I think when he gets one, we're going to see over the course of 5 games, let's say, or something, there'll be 2 or 3.
Yeah,
it's going to open it up a little bit for him, and he's going to feel really good and get those done.
It's just in his head now, for sure.
Murray, he did an interview on their last true road trip, and I think it was just him and Tony from Oilers TV. And I think in the 3 minutes that he was talking to Tony, he mentioned the word fun 14 or 15 times. And when we came back to us on camera and in studio, I was like, he's definitely not having fun right now.
He's forcing it.
It was totally facetious.
He's forcing us to believe that he's having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Just don't hurt the team. I guess. That's the thing. If you're not going to score the goal, just make sure you're not hurting the team.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's not hurting the team when he's on the ice. He's helping out on the PK. That's the benefit of that right now with Connor Brown. It's not like he's on the ice and just turnover machine and has just been horrendous in just all facets. And you go, well, at least give us something.
Yeah.
When you're looking, if you're the Edmonton Oilers and you're Ken Holland.
Just don't hurt us.
The players are, and I think that whole team look and go, it's got to be tough for him right now.
Yeah.
Well, and as much heat as we all, me included, give Ken Holland, when you basically trade on your roster Adam Ernie for Corey Perry, you have no cap space to work with, and that's the move that he's able to pull off. My goodness, because Corey Perry is going to help this hockey team.
Ken Holland was a bit chest out the other day after that press conference.
Justifiably so.
He was like, "Yeah, you got one. Good job, Ken." He's made some bold moves since he's been here.
Well, Warren Fogle. There was a lot of people that did not like that trade. I thought it was a big risk at the time of trading away Ethan Bear at that time. I was like, there's a potential here that this is going to be pretty bad. That this is a young defenseman, and you don't know what it's going to be. They take a while to. But now look at what Warren Fogel's doing. Like, Ken Holland destroyed that trade.
Yep.
Took a long time to.
It took a while to get there, but in the end, it's there, and Warren Fogle is producing. Like, the Oilers, no one could argue they lost that trade. No one could even come close to saying, well, maybe a tie. No, the Oilers won that hockey trade right now with how it's going. And there's a few of those that are being racked up in Ken Holland's column right now, where at the start of the year, a lot of people were going like, Ken Holland had all this cap space a couple summers ago. This team's losing. He didn't build a winner. And now you're looking at, 14 straight. And just, what moves did Ken make? Yeah, check there, check there, check there. Yeah, maybe an X here, maybe an X there, but check here, check here. Ken Holland's got to be feeling really, really good about himself right now.
Good way to go
overall.
out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good point. That reminded me, to bring it kind of full circle. Did you guys ever take a call on your show back in the old shop days from a guy named Terry who wanted to fire Ken Holland and hire
No, we never got those calls, just you.
Jim Benning?
You were the only ones that got those calls.
Oh,
in the
I
most game.
hated, and he got Reed this year on the Ched post game, and Reed and I talked about it. I was like, yeah, don't let that guy get on the air. He's terrible. And in the playoffs last year, our boy, the post game Ranger, I hadn't warned him about Terry. First call, waiting for 10 minutes before they got eliminated. There he is, and
Ready to go. Oh yeah.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Goodbye.
Here's a question I'll throw out there. Oilers are great right now. They might go win the Stanley Cup this year. Could you come back with Ken Holland as the GM for another year or two?
Not going to happen.
No, I don't think so.
But if he built a Stanley Cup winning team, why wouldn't you? Like, why couldn't you bring someone in?
Matty, because
Or
I think
do you
the,
have to
the
move
feeling
him
is mutual at this point
Yeah?
now. Yeah. I don't see a lot of Ken Holland around the arena like we did before.
I think you roll him as an advisor.
Maybe.
If they felt the need, although I don't know Jeff Jackson at all, just going off reputation, torch being passed, can we thank you for your service?
Yep.
And if it goes out with a cup or they go out, late, whatever that looks like, best for all parties to move on.
Yep.
Let's not get sentimental here.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That's an interesting thing, Matthew, because I don't know if you've noticed it too, Murray, but in our city, it's like you kind of, let's get rid of this guy, let's get rid of that guy. And then when the time comes for that to happen, it's like, well, and there's that second thought and that doubt. Have you guys noticed that?
Of course.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know if it's uniquely our market, or I'm sure there's other markets that are like that, but it's okay to say thank you. We appreciate what you've done. Good luck in the future. And the Oilers were ready to do that with Evander Kane until he circled back to them after he found out nobody was going to pay him $7-8 million a year. So, but I find that odd. It's like, can't they find him something? They could find, surely they could find, well, they keep Bob Nichols. And it's like, well, yeah, but
why do they have to find something?
Good question.
Like it's funny. We hold the teams themselves to the ideal, and as fans, I guess you have the right to, is win at any cost. Mm-hmm. Who it doesn't matter who you trample underfoot to get to the championship, to get as far as you can. And then when it comes to personnel decisions that are around non-hockey people, you're right. We get sentimental, like, oh, gee, just can't let him go, can you? Well. Yeah, you can. Mm-hmm. I mean, lots of people are fired. I mean, look at Lou Lamoriello. Lane Lambert probably, I'm guessing, although you could hear the hoof beat, as they're starting to really kind of tank on the island there. But then, anyone have Patrick Waugh going there? Not a soul.
Not a peep out of that, yeah. We had no clue.
That's mobster stuff from Lou Lamoriello.
You and I on the show, we used to always talk about our image of Lou's office was just one desk with one chair, one phone, and the one light hanging and swinging above him. No other light, just this one light that just hangs above him. And that's Lou's office.
Meetings are always in person and all with no other witnesses.
Yeah, no windows in that office.
But it's awesome.
He's pulled off a few crazy moves like that before too. And Patrick Waugh, what a choice! I think he's going to be great.
I said it. I think I said it on the pregame yesterday. I know I brought it up on two guys. I just have a gut feeling he's been promised more. That Lou is 81.
Well,
I have a feeling he's been promised, like, hey,
do this for
in a
now.
couple years, you will be GM and head coach or something. We'll give you that, because it just seems so weird that Patrick Waugh would just land on the island of all places.
So you go back in time, Montreal Canadiens, Islanders. This does not.
It's an
really,
odd fit.
Yeah,
it's just an odd fit because of who Patrick Waugh is.
Yeah.
I mean, short of the Nordiques returning, you go, well, where should he go? Well, everyone wants to put him in Montreal, but that clearly isn't going to happen. At least not probably in my lifetime. And
Colorado's done.
Colorado's
He's not going
done.
there now.
Okay. I thought it was a really inspired hire. That's
It was just stunning that no one I think would have thrown out Patrick Waugh as an in-season coaching move. And here it is. Lou pulls it off. Lou gets it done. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato, Caesar, Matt Iwanyk, Dave Jamieson, Murray McCourt, Tom Gazzola with you here on Edmonton Sports Talk and EdmontonSportsTalk.com. We got to go into the story of today now, which is the news from, let me just make sure I pull it up properly, as... It's got to load. 5 former 2018 Canadian World Junior players are told to surrender to face charges of a sexual assault. This is with the City of London. The London police, they reopened up an investigation. It's been going on now for a little bit for this allegation. It's been taking a while. Now we're actually seeing some sort of consequence come with this. Just charges. We don't know who has been charged.
We know 3.
But, well...
99%.
Officially, we don't know.
Yeah.
We do know that Dylan Dubé has taken a leave of absence. We know Carter Hart has taken a leave of absence. And just before we got on the air, I got to just get... in Europe.
Yeah.
What did I just miss? Formanton. It's been announced that he is back in North America, and he's taken an indefinite leave, personal leave as well. So, like, it's very easy to see a connection there. They were all part of the 2018 team. But this is a seismic move here.
Yes.
Or seismic news that has now just dropped this morning.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I mean, we all knew it was coming, though.
We knew it was coming, but I have a question for Tom, because you're deeply embedded in the hockey world and hockey community. How does this land, news of this today land? I'm sure lots of guys either, know the story, friend of a friend knows, I'm sure there's been a lot of stuff move around in terms of information. But the NHL, despite, 32 teams, it's still a pretty small world. Okay?
True.
How does this story today, given what Maddie has shared, how does that land? If you're in a dressing room in the NHL, are you going there, but for the grace of God, oh my God, what are you thinking?
I think it's a shock because now, you have to surrender to the London police, and you see these guys taking a leave of absence. And this was percolating. It hung over these guys, and everybody knew.
Yes.
They had their suspicions who it was, and if you talk to people that knew people around that team, they're like, yeah, it's that guy, that guy, that guy.
We can narrow it down very quickly.
Exactly.
It's like once you dead told 2018 team, and these players weren't there, then it's like, well, it's only you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And J-Mo, I think it's a shock. My guess it's gonna, as it should, scare guys not to be really stupid and do stupid things, because these guys are young, they're good looking, they're athletes, they have swagger, and they're privy to a lot of things and opportunities that the everyday Joe can't or could only wish to experience. And I think it's going to be something that everybody thinks of. And it's probably going to affect younger guys going into junior hockey, and it might shift the culture a little bit, I think, depending on how big this becomes.
Because the hockey culture has been under, examination in this country for a long time. It's accelerated over the last several years because of this and other thing. I mean, God, we can go back to Graham James, and there have been incidents less high-profile. But anyhow, all of that said, this day or days have been coming for a while. Do you trust Hockey Canada? Because for better or worse, maybe worse, based on what we've learned about Hockey Canada, they're the ones that are going to have to change the way they operate, and by extension, the way hockey operates. Fair?
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, Hockey Canada is in a battle for to maintain its status right now, especially after what we're seeing with the BCHL, and there's going to be they're fighting on multiple fronts right now. Hockey Canada to maintain what they are as an entity, but for Hockey Canada, do people trust them? Will they trust them to get it right? No, instinctually, we're going to hear a lot of no, they can't get anything right. But they've gone through so many changes, they have to get it right. They have to be hard on this. They have to make sure that there's repercussions. Otherwise, whatever respect they still maintain or clout they still maintain, that'll be gone. Whatever they're hanging on to, that'll be gone if they don't get this right.
What exactly do you feel like Hockey Canada has to do with this? Because this was a World Junior, but this was an after party in the summer to celebrate where Hockey Canada didn't do it. These players, were there together celebrating. They went out at night and to a bar, and then Hockey Canada's not there. Hockey Canada can't control what the world is doing when they're not. Yes, they were part of a Hockey Canada team at the World Juniors, but. This has nothing to do with Hockey Canada. I don't feel it's.
Well, they can, as an organization, try to sweep things under the rug. They can't try to make sure things stay quiet. When these things come out, like they would have known who these players were.
Oh, for
you
sure.
can't allow
Yeah.
them to have ever played for Hockey Canada again. And that's the stuff that Hockey Canada did. You know, then when it comes out that they have a slush fund to pay off things like that's where you go, oh, what the hell is that? And it's that, like, you're right. Like, in the end, the players did this.
Right.
The players are the ones that are going to have to bear the responsibility for their actions. And if it's indeed what they did and they get convicted, they deserve the punishment that they're going to serve, which is jail time or whatever it's going to be. They deserve it. 100% they do. But then there's the extension of Hockey Canada sets the culture, in a sense. Hockey Canada and the NHL are both going to set that culture.
Yes.
And the NHL, we really were hard on them, and we looked at them, especially with everything that was going on with the Blackhawks and the beat situation. Hockey Canada in this situation, you've got to set that standard. So the fact that they knew that this happened, but these players were eligible to still play for Canada, just even that in itself is one where the standard that is set in Hockey Canada is, as long as you are good at hockey, we've got you. We've got you.
And that's the
mistake.
default position. Hockey Canada
And that's
could
a
always
sport
say,
thing, I will
and
say.
Hockey Canada could always say, but we're really good at hockey. Yeah, we may not be perfect. We screw up. We're not very good at things like this. But man, we're good at hockey. Well, did you see the junior team most recently? They were not good.
Yeah.
No.
They were not good. So, well, wait a minute. Now, and there are lots of critics of Hockey Canada. They're saying, well, you can't do things like this and serious situations like this. And in a nation that doesn't do a lot well, but we do play hockey well, you can't even get that right. You can't even build teams with the best junior players in the world.
Well, Connor Bedard was in the NHL because if he was playing on that team, they probably would have won. But
but still, Murray,
I get
there's
your
lots
point.
of there's lots of depth out there. You should be able to build better than they've done, and Hockey Canada doesn't have that strong leg to stand on. Yeah, but we get the hockey right, don't we? Yeah, do you?
Yeah, and there was an incident that happened, I think, in 2003 that we kind of, and so like if that's allowed in 2003, then these kids in 2018, like, I'm good. I can do whatever. Hockey Canada's got my back.
The alleged incident in 2003, pretty freaking bad too. But that was so long ago, it's almost out of sight, out of mind, but it's been brought up. The other thing too, Murray, is that this incident that is under scrutiny, rightly so, happened at a formal Hockey Canada function. Or just
they
after.
were there for a formal hockey,
Yes.
but they were at a bar later. They weren't at the Hockey Canada
and it
function.
emanated there. So it's but like Maddie was saying, like it is you need to set the bar and the precedent, and Hockey Canada's losing that right now. And if they want to still be an entity or the standard or where all of hockey runs
They're the
through in our
governing
country,
body of the
governing
sport
body
in the country.
That, and now they're vulnerable, and there are going to be other very deep pocketed other entities, groups, companies, I guess, that are going to take a run at Hockey Canada. It's already being planned out. I know of some. I've heard rumors of this place and that part of the country, that are ready and willing to take a run and basically cut off the head of Hockey Canada. And
I will say that's
right.
an interesting outcome where I think the government's going to then have to get involved when it comes to the sporting body, like the Minister of Sport, because who then runs our Olympic teams, or who runs, and that's Hockey Canada right now. And if they also get split into multiple things, who's the one then that's organizing our hockey internationally sanctioned? And that, like, I'm assuming that's a federal thing that gets designated. I think
I would assume so,
because I don't know who else would do that. But there might have. I don't remember having Kershell on. Crush is going to be on the Hangout tomorrow. We've talked about how there's just a lot of, and we've just seen it. A lot of different organizations in Canada are having their issues. Gymnastics has their issues, and bobsled had their issues, and it's just time and
Soccer
time. There's all sorts of, and they're all varying degrees of what there is, but there's just issues all over. And I think baseball is actually really good right now, so maybe Baseball Canada needs to just take over and run things. And one thing I think we could see from hockey we might see them have to go the Blackhawks way, which is they're going to overpunish to reset the bar, to have a zero tolerance thing where. It's like Frank Saravalli's gone out there, and a lot of people have gone out there with what Corey Perry did in Chicago. By all counts, most teams would have kept him on their roster.
Yes,
but the Blackhawks have absolutely
Well, they got nowhere to hide.
They've got no
Blackhawks-
chips in play or anything with what's happened in their past.
No merit.
But it was
And that, I
significant
think-
enough that Corey Perry is out there saying,
Yeah.
I did this. Like,
Yeah.
he's not saying, the Blackhawks this and the
No,
Blackhawks that. He's saying, I screwed up and taken full responsibility
Yeah.
for it. So nobody.
But if he did that, when he was employed by the Lightning, I think we would have still maybe seen a suspension or a fine
Right,
or something.
for sure.
But the Blackhawks had they have no leg to stand on. We
Exactly.
got to get rid of this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
And that's where I think we might see Hockey Canada where they'll over punish for a bit to set a standard. And to a degree, I kind of hope this because you've got to set a standard down hockey. And I don't care if new people come in and take over from hockey, and I hope they have this too right now, where it's just there's zero tolerance. We've got to change this culture in hockey, that it's a great sport. People love it. But we've got to get this image that is now being put attached to hockey away from us.
Yeah.
And we've allowed that to happen, and we've got to stop that from happening. None of this is allowed.
Fair.
And it's been like, you played junior hockey. I was a GM of a junior hockey team. I mean,
Championship winning GM.
many championships. Anyways,
6?
well, 8 in 11 years.
that's it?
But,
There it is,
Yeah,
just 8.
sorry, yeah. But anyway, like the culture of hockey and the opportunities, even at a junior level, where the opportunities that are there to do things that and the hazing and stuff like that used to go on. I mean, it
That's big in
was
football.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is crazy. Everything that the whole culture of hockey and the ego of it, the confidence that it gives. There's just so much about it. But ultimately, the people that do the bad things need to take responsibility for themselves, and it's hard to control as a Hockey Canada. Like if you run any business, you can't control what your staff is doing 24 hours a day. And so if somebody from the ranch goes out and robs a bank or murders somebody or something like that, well, that's not my fault. It's
But would you
their
keep
fault.
them employed?
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on some level, rightly or wrongly, you're not to blame, but you wear it. You the reputation of you, the ranch, whatever, using your example. And Hockey Canada, and you're right, Murray. I mean, it was a sanctioned event. This was my understanding, right? It was after the event when all of this, again, more will be revealed in court, I'm sure. But Hockey Canada wears it. And you may feel, and there will be people out there that will rush to the defense of Hockey Canada and say, but it's reputational damage.
Absolutely.
Deeper than that. That's a kind term for what's happened here.
Yeah.
Has been Hockey Canada, and by extension, the sport of hockey, has been, will be, and God, we're on the front end of this process. Like, this is hours old that, we're now at this point, yes, and I know, you guys mentioned earlier, you knew it was coming.
But it wasn't like top of mind, like you mentioned.
It still doesn't when it lands.
Yeah.
And God, we're just on the front end of this thing. It's only going to get more rugged here for both the individuals involved, their organization, Hockey Canada. Man, it's going to be.
And then the victim having to deal with all this too, right? Like that's the big one there, where like you've got to relive this, you've got to deal with this because now it's and it's front of news. It's going to be across 2 countries. It's there. It's being talked about, and when you open up the TV today, turn on the TV, you open up your Twitter or whatever, you're seeing that story, and you know it's connected, and it's going to bring back those memories. So. Really going to think about the victim in this, but we'll learn the 5 players' names, I guess, over the course of the next days or a couple of weeks or something, because they've been they have to surrender to police, and then they will be charged, and then there'll be, I guess, the criminal proceedings or whatever will come from that, and we'll see what happens. And if found guilty, they deserve to be punished rightfully.
I got a text if you want to touch on it really quickly to wrap up this topic. Orca Driver says, why do you need to overpunish? Just set the bar with the rules that are in place or whatever rules are established and punish to those rules going above. And a board does not set any type of standard, establish a framework and stay within it. But like you said, Maddie, like you kind of said, Blackhawks now have to be airtight about everything, almost overly sensitive for public perception and reputation, and Hockey Canada is very
and
much
also
in
just
the same
within
way.
your organization to really make it known that there is zero tolerance. And if you just go by standard, you might have people that still will take a shot. If you overdo it, it might and I'm not saying forever it's going to happen that way, but if you over punish a little bit like the Blackhawks are doing, it might send those shockwaves that are necessary throughout your organization to go, look, this is unacceptable. We don't want to tell you again, no. And that's where I think that you will see that over punishment. So
these 5 players are innocent until proven
100%.
guilty. And so you're the NHL. They've taken this leave of absence now, so they'll go and surrender themselves, and whatever's going to transpire transpires. But the legal process does not move fast in this country. Nope. So these guys are young players that have taken leave of absence. If you take a leave of absence, you don't get paid. But if this is going to take a 2-year process to find out whether they're innocent or guilty in a court of law, does the NHL allow them to play?
Suspended with pay. That's what we'll see.
That's what you think.
This is the standard had been set with the NFL with Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson, and that and ultimately then it was Greg Hardy at that time, where they initially completely got it wrong with the Ray Rice suspension, given only 2 games. But then the video came out, and the NFL created the commissioner's suspension list, and it was suspended with pay until criminal proceedings are figured out. And then Adrian Peterson had the situation with his son with the switch.
Oh yeah.
And then Greg Hardy, who had been convicted of beating his then girlfriend, but then on appeal she didn't cooperate anymore, and he got through. But he was placed on the suspension list, and then Slava Voinov in the NHL was placed on that list.
Yeah.
While he was going through proceedings, he was found guilty, and then he's never been allowed.
He's never played again.
And I think they've reinstated him. I think, but no one has taken a shot on bringing him over.
Yeah.
It's a hard with the social climate where we are in this day and age. It would be very hard for a league to have a player on the ice that's going those criminal proceedings.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's where but you also can't suspend without pay because you're like innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
But there will be a full I don't know what the NHL will call it, but there'll be suspension with pay or something. Yeah. You guys can't play until this is figured out. If you're found guilty, your contract's going to then be terminated. And if you're found innocent, then welcome back.
Yeah. And from an NHL standpoint, like for a lack of a better term, they want to make this as easy as possible for themselves. Oh, this is a Hockey Canada problem, but these guys are now our players. Yeah. We need to let that be dealt with over there. And then when it comes to us, we need to wash our hands of it and handle it appropriately and move on. Yeah. So they'll just do whatever's easiest, and that means keeping these guys away.
And from a cold perspective on this, they won't want that distraction.
Exactly.
John Tortorella does not want Carter Hart around his team. No. If he indeed is charged, or if he is one of these names, I should have went there. That's a poor one. But you don't want then the reporters having to come around and ask questions. You're not going to want that. No, you don't want to go to another barn where fans might be putting up signs or things like that. The brand, and that's where
the Flyers, the NHL. The players, the names we believe we know. I'm sure they're good athletes, great athletes in some cases, but they're very disposable.
Assets.
They're very disposable.
JMO, you saw it for years with the Eskimos.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah. Carter Hart, though, losing Carter Hart is damaging to the players.
But all of that said, still disposable. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say that. It's real. It's real.
It's like we'll never see this again, but it's just thinking back, it stuns me that Kobe Bryant was playing basketball during the trial that he was being accused of rape. Mm-hmm. Like he was flying back and forth on the same day.
Yes.
At trial, flying to LA to get to a game. And like that absolutely just blows my mind right now that was what happened. And now we'll never see that again.
No.
Leagues can't allow that. So when these names come out, whoever's in the NHL, they'll be very quick that we'll hear a suspension.
Yeah.
Or two other guys take a leave of absence for sure.
Yeah.
And then they'll figure out from there. So we'll see how this goes. And right here in Edmonton Sports Talk, as things progress throughout the day, the next days, throughout the weeks, we will keep you updated on that. This is the EST Hangout. Matt Iwanyk, Dave Jamieson, Murray McCourt, Tom Gazzola with you here. Do want to get actually one quick news from the NBA. Doc Rivers now has agreed to a deal with the Milwaukee Bucks to be their next head coach, firing their coach after having like the second best record in basketball.
What are they have? It's just 13 or something.
Yeah,
it's just an unbelievable story.
Second best record in the NBA, and they fire their coach.
You don't like the way it's going, you make the move. NBA's, they're pretty quick at coaching changes sometimes.
Which means he pissed off Giannis.
Or Dame or both.
or both. And they went, nope,
We're good.
this guy's a fraud. Or we're basically coaching ourselves, I'm sure that conversation or a version thereof happened.
One
We know
of
what
those
the
guys
NBA is.
went to the GM
Yeah.
or whatever at some point and says, get rid of this guy. And it was, okay, done.
Yeah.
Like,
we got, and wasn't Doc sort of consulting to the actual coach? I mean, he was available to take calls.
no, I know Doc has been calling a few Laker games. And if you watch those games, you could tell he was applying hard for the Lakers job. He wanted Darvin Ham's job. When you watch some of those games, he was pushing hard for Ham to get fired and him to take over. Lakers fans are all watching those go, dude, just like back off just a little bit. They want Ham gone, but it was like, take it easy. You're calling the game.
I heard a great line years ago about football coaches. Everyone's coaching with a resume in their back pocket.
Damn. Yeah.
Everyone's packing one. You're like, yeah, no, this is good now. Yeah, we're great, but hey, have I shown you my resume? Have a look at that, right?
Do football coaches or hockey coaches actually need a resume? Everyone knows where everyone's been, but
No,
just-
but the point is,
yeah.
like, you're always on the look.
yeah,
Always
for something
on the look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And it's true. You kind of get that vibe off of football people. You're like, did that guy just like try to pitch me how good he is? You know what I mean? And you're like, yeah, I think he did.
The coaching carousel in the NFL right now is a little. I mean, there's a lot of jobs opening, but when are the Ducks going to start to fall a little bit?
Sounds like
quicker here?
Harbaugh and Chargers is getting
They're-
close.
They're talking for sure.
And then that domino falls in college. Then it's what Michigan does, and then the dominoes will come from there. In the NFL, I think the next domino kind of is: does Bill go to Atlanta? And then all the other teams will kind of
then people
mostly
line up.
fall
Yeah.
into shape there. Because Panthers still need, I think.
Yeah.
They hired a GM, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Seattle hasn't hired anybody.
They haven't hired. Titans have hired. Raiders have hired. There's a lot. Yeah, there was like 7 openings this year.
Yeah, that's a big number.
Raiders got a GM too, didn't they?
They're looking. They want. So they've done. They've the interim coach is now their coach.
Yeah.
It looks like they're closing in on the Chargers' former GM.
Yeah.
Bringing him in because when you saw after you beat them down and stuff, and you saw that team that you're like, yeah, that's who I want.
Let's go get that
That's
guy.
the guy.
Isn't that odd that the coach gets hired before the GM? Though?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Owner.
they screwed up when they had that interim coach, and I forget his name.
Rick Bisaccia.
Was he the one after John Gruden?
Yeah.
And they played well.
Rich Bisaccia. Yeah. He was in, and
I'm
he was,
stunned.
there was love for him. He's now with the
Yes,
Packers.
yes.
He's an assistant with the Packers.
And they got to the playoffs. I was
Yes, they
stunned
did.
that they moved on. They went. Davis went for the name. He tried to bring Josh McDaniels. It didn't work. And I think for that they learned from their mistake. I'm like, well, we're going to keep this guy because the players loved him. They came to the owner and like, if you get rid of him, I'm going to ask for a trade.
If Max Crosby comes in your office and he's standing there,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Listen, Mark, I just want you to know if that guy is fired, I'm out."
Yeah.
You go, "Oh, okay."
So that they've gone in
better-
that reverse way, which is very weird.
Yeah.
But I understand why they did that there.
Football's interesting that way because, like, obviously Jerry Jones in Dallas, Michael Bidwell in Arizona, and then Mark Davis in Oakland. Like, the owners are so hands-on, so hands-on. And you're like, do you not see that the order of your process is flawed?
David
Take
Tepper
over.
in Carolina.
David Tepper,
No,
yeah.
he's just so awful.
Don't be around him when he's got a
drink.
almost finished drink because he's gonna throw it on you.
Yeah.
It must be nice having that money, where you like the NFL is just your toy.
Well,
and it's worth billions of dollars, and it's
If
just
Matt
your toy.
Iwanyk had $1 bazillion and you bought an NFL team, though, you as much as you love football, you would want to tinker with it. It's your toy. You want to be involved.
Truthfully, if I ever did, I would only want to deal with a president. I would not want to deal with anything else because I know I don't know it well enough. Now, I might change the president a lot. That would be the one. But like I do fully believe that like the organized org chart, and you hire then a president of football ops, and you say, get this, win. Go hire the GM, go hire a coach, and win.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't want to be a guy that. I say that now without those bazillions,
And they
Yeah.
have so
but
much
if I have that, who
ego.
knows,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Is it-
Yeah.
it's the right thing to do. But man, it'd
In the
be
moment,
fun.
yes.
Yeah,
You get intoxicated by being around, one of North America's biggest businesses,
Yeah.
certainly the highest profile, and you go,
It's an elite club.
of course it is. Yeah.
It's a status to own a National Football League team.
Yeah.
There's only 32 of them. You're of one of the richest people. There's a reason Jeff Bezos wanted in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's the most diehard NFL fan. I don't think we've ever really seen him, always in every game in that booth
Doesn't
cheering
matter.
on that Lifetime team. He wanted the Commanders because it's a status. I'm now part of the National
who
Football League.
don't have a coach yet either. Washington.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I read though that the Lions offensive coordinator maybe is
He's getting a lot of buzz right now.
lock to maybe go there. But
Isn't that weird? And JMO, you live the football life and in that football world. Isn't it weird that in the most heated time where you need to be so dialed in, the playoffs, coaches are interviewing for jobs
I know.
with other teams? To me, that is so effed up.
Yeah.
So effed up. Like when the Eskimos won the Grey Cup in 2015, they're like, yeah, Chris Jones is meeting with the Riders. Like,
yeah, pardon.
he's got this game on Sunday in Winnipeg that's kind of a big deal. What do you
Yeah.
mean he's meeting with the Riders? Like, what the hell is going on? I don't know how you are. Like, it's just so stupid.
Hey, if somebody
in
wants
my
to meet with
mind,
Chris
JMO.
Jones right now, please reach out.
It's mercenary, and all sports are on some level. But yeah, football is and having seen the coaches and work beside them, in the 2 steps down the hall, they're I was often told, the club's not there for us when we get fired. Why, we got to look after ourselves. Yeah, you're wearing green and gold or blue and white or whatever it is, red and white. And in the moment, you're working as hard as you can, hopefully, to make your team better. But are you dying for the cause? No, you're worried about you and your family and protecting those interests. Yeah.
Pretty good thing to have on top of your priority list.
Well, it is,
Yeah.
absolutely, Murray. But, sometimes we can lose on the outside, but I mean, aren't they fully committed to the cause? Yeah, they're doing the best they can with whatever assets they've got to help produce a winner. But know in the back of their mind, they're also looking around, going,
This is wild.
yeah, it is. And now, those guys that used to fly in for those, now it's a Zoom call.
Yeah, 'cause you have to
we're
have a
wrapped
certain
up at our
amount of
facility.
Zooms.
Yeah, we're wrapped up at our facility. I've got the AFC, NFC. Yeah, and we're out of here. I get back to the hotel. Yeah, sure. Let's lock in for an hour, and I'll see you on my laptop. And then you can talk to me, and we'll go through philosophy.
And after a certain number of Zooms, then you could have an in-person meeting with them. And they've kind of adjusted the rules to help out. Because also, if you're an OC or DC, why do you want to be a part of a good team if you're going to be going to the AFC, NFC championship game every year or the Super Bowl, and all the teams are then hiring, and if they can't talk to you,
Right.
Yeah.
well, those teams aren't getting the best guys because they're still coaching, but then you never get a shot at a head coaching gig because you're always playing, and those teams want to get someone in
your
place right
success
away.
works against you in
Yeah.
a sense of limiting your availability.
So
right?
that's where the NFL has to find that balance for it. College is getting even worse because
With
you've
the
got
players too.
Well, that's the thing. You've got this coaching, and this year it's just an insane coaching carousel. But in that time, then you got the player transfer portal. That is just players going over, and then this coach goes here, and then 5 players go, I'm out, I'm going somewhere else. And it's turning into just utter chaos,
Yeah,
which from an
it
outsider's
is.
perspective, just watching it, it's great.
Well,
There's a lot of news happening.
you cheer for a team, and if you don't get into the playoff, you have this bowl game coming up, and you're like, oh, excited for the bowl game, but this player's not going to play. This player's not going to play because he's in the transfer protocol, or he's going to
Go to the NFL.
Go to the
Declare,
NFL, and then unless you're in the championship, those bowl games are meaningless anymore.
Yeah.
Because nobody's playing, nobody's coaching. It's like I don't know.
It's weird.
It
But
is
it's going
really
to
weird.
The
Yeah.
12-team playoffs
You're
going
right.
to change that a bit because now we got
It'll
12
help with
teams
the
with the bigger schools
bigger
because
schools, for sure.
You're going to the playoffs now. You have a shot at the
Yeah.
national title. The lower bowls, not a lot
They
are
feel
going to
like
the NFL anymore.
exhibition games, quite honestly.
Yeah.
They
Don't tell
really
me
do.
that.
Right.
Do
They
not tell me
feel
the
like-
Pop-Tart Bowl is an exhibition game, Dave.
No, but
Dreams
they feel
do
like
come true.
exercises and kind of what they are, marketing,
Yeah.
branding.
Yeah.
But in terms of the level of competitiveness, I've felt like, Murray, like you're right. Like you've got 5 starters out. Okay,
Florida State had
what are we
20.
getting here?
Yeah.
Really?
there's so much money in those bowl games, and it's just it's
follow
silly.
the money.
I beat
Always
Lucas
follow the money.
They're
picks, though, this
exhibition
year.
games. It's all the
You're right.
Tart it up as a championship.
yeah.
Okay.
Start it up.
For the Super Bowl, be sure to join Edmonton Sports Talk at Super Bowl at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge Sunday, February 11th. February 11th.
I read that liner yesterday.
Dusty gave us a liner and it was wrong with the 12th, so
Yeah.
it's the 11th. Tom was too busy preparing for an Oiler game that he didn't. He hit that a little cold.
I didn't look at that
Was busy
Sunday.
thinking about the Oilers and Corey Perry and all that, like preparing for a show about the Oilers, not the NFL. And
Thank you for making
somebody got
excuses
called
for
out.
me.
Well, like one day off.
And no one called you out, right, on it?
No, that was the thing. He got called out.
Yeah, no
And
one
it was
called
just
out
like, well,
at
this guy's
all.
doing an Oiler game. Like, he's just quickly reading this to
I'm
promote
reading
this.
our liner.
Stick to hockey,
If
Tom.
you join
Stick
us
to hockey.
if you join us at Century Casino, you'll chance to win EST merch. We've got a spot on the Hangout and more. Plus, the 6 o'clock lager will be in stock and available. Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. Menu items under $10. And to help promote this on Monday, Renee will be on the Hangout. I'm very
she is
excited
lovely.
I am very excited
sure
about
she
having
is.
Renee on the
I'm
Hangout.
sure
She is.
So,
And it's not, hi,
no.
I'm Renee. Renee is like the total opposite of that.
We exchanged messages with her yesterday and locked her in to come in on Monday. So
She'll
I'm very
be
excited
great.
about Monday. But yeah, you can join us for the Super Bowl. Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road. I want to get to, it's weird. Okay, actually, quickly, do you know why the Farmers Insurance is starting today?
No, I don't.
It's today through
It's
Saturday.
Wednesday. What's on Sunday? They probably
Like, are they not because of the AFC NFC
yeah,
Championship
they probably
game?
don't want to compete with the football games. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, but the Waste Management goes up against the Super Bowl on that same day.
But the waste management is the waste management.
Yes.
Wasted management.
It's
Victoria
Victoria
Pines.
Pines. This is
well,
I don't recall them ever doing this on the
Yeah,
Saturday. So I
that's
just
probably- I
got
think
the
you're right,
notification
though.
from
That'd be
TSN that said, "Hey, it's starting." And I'm like, "Why the hell is it starting?"
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah,
looked it
I
up
didn't
and it
know
says,
that.
"Yeah, it's going Wednesday through Saturday." This.
Oh, Tory.
Hey, I got to watch golf on a Wednesday. I'm not going to complain
You're not
about
going to
that
complain
one.
now.
The NHL, well, some other news in a not serious light. They have been sent a letter from the Utah Jazz ownership group looking to start an NHL expansion process. And the NHL is saying, we're not there. Like, we have nothing to comment on. They need to talk to a board of governors and all of this. But this is the launch and the beginning of the NHL's march to 36 teams. You guys ready
36?
for a 36
Go for it,
team
boys.
National Hockey League?
Take it.
Well, the owners aren't going to turn down the money.
No.
That's
all they're focused on
so
here.
exactly. So it's they're going to water down the league and make it harder
Again.
to watch. And although, to be fair, because so many teams are up against the cap, most teams aren't carrying a 23-man roster. They're carrying a 21-man roster. So that's knocking guys out of the league that would have been in the league. So anyways, but those are the bottom end players. But as we were just talking football, and JMO said, follow the money. And so the NHL is going there.
This is an interesting play from this group because, and Tom, you certainly will remember, and Maddie, were we on the air when the Jets returned?
I think that was
Winnipeg?
before. I was with Spec.
Reading now, after the fact, and how much the NHL appreciated the fact that the Jets there's off the radar and then there's off the radar and how the Jets approached all of their negotiations with the league. In fact,
Because that was around the same time as Jim Paul Silly, who
Right.
Yes.
was
Remember-
selling season tickets and trying to buy the Pens and the Coyotes and the Preds, and the NHL fought with him on that.
And Bettman, I think, has and may have said as much, appreciated the approach that the Jets took under the ownership of David Thompson, right? Is the
David
owner?
Thompson, Mark Chipman.
Mark
yeah,
Chipman.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it
David
was
Thompson's the money,
like
though.
you
Richest man in
didn't
Canada.
know that Winnipeg was really in play. I mean, yeah, there were rumors and there was hope, but until Bettman showed up for that news conference,
It was a
Remember?
Stephen Brunn piece like 2 weeks prior saying it's happening, and then I think he got the date wrong, and then 2 weeks later, Gary Bettman's in Winnipeg going, Atlanta's moving here.
but there wasn't the big build-up. There wasn't the David Thompson and Mark Chipman announce or a press release. It just good God, the Jets are back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
But we know why the press release is coming out.
Well, there is certainly some.
It's coming out today because of what's going on with the Hockey Canada investigation. This is clearly
Strategic,
put out there. There's
timing
it's
is
Yeah.
for that to come out within like 30 minutes or an hour of the other news. They'd been waiting on this one and probably just like called them up and said, "Hey, release it. We'll be ready to go." And this is now drawing that attention there. I will be cynical of that one.
Lots are already based on what I've seen online. Is people saying, "Oh, come on, that is pretty craven that you would do that." Like, and I mean, I guess we may never know. No one's going to cop to it, but yeah, it does seem odd. And again, based, just what I said around the Winnipeg approach, Bettman doesn't want to feel as if he's being sort of, the bright lights are being turned on too early.
Mm-hmm.
Are we being pressured into talking with Salt Lake? I'm sure they have, and they've had lots of tours, and they've had all sorts of that stuff. But publicly, we control expansion. Not you.
They do. I think I even said it on the pregame or postgame show. Yes, I said it very recently. I'm like, watch out for Salt Lake. They're going to be the next franchise in the NHL. They're right there. I think the guy's name is Ryan Smith. Is his name, the owner of the Utah Jazz?
Yeah.
He and the NHL have been doing this dance for a couple of years already. Like, this is almost locked in.
You think Salt Lake City is the number one choice?
It's tied to an Olympic bid, I think, that they're going for, and they're going to rebuild a facility out there, and then you got the Jazz, and you got the hockey team.
Yeah, it's happening. This is, to Bill Foley's credit in the Vegas group, I remember... This is really weird, but like 2014, 2015, Doug Waite was on the coaching staff of the New York Islanders, and I went to Louis DeBrusque. I'm like, I want to talk to Doug Waite. Can you introduce me? And he's like, yeah, let's go talk to Dougie. So we went at the old building. We went to the visitors' locker room. We got the PR guy to bring Doug out, and then the three of us. Louis introduced me, and we just shot the crap for like 25 minutes. And Doug's awesome.
Yep.
And expansion came up, and we're like, oh, Quebec City or this place, that place. He goes, no. I think I mentioned Seattle. He goes, no, boys. League's going to Vegas. So, like, it's kind of like that undercurrent is there, and that is what it feels like with Salt Lake right now.
Right.
So that's kind of my take on it, having past experiences. But you're right, JMO. The league doesn't like that spotlight. They don't like get putting on blast, as the kids say.
Yeah.
And they like to do it their way. But this guy, Ryan Smith, has been in bed with the NHL for a couple of years already.
The consequences to me of this is just going to be too bad for the NHL. Like, it's not going to go well. Like, adding 80 jobs is great. PA is going to be happy about that. But it's not, the talent's not there, I think, to make it that you're going to be able, like, it's going to be spread out even more, and you're going to have worse hockey teams, and it's going to be harder to rebuild. It's going to be harder to build a winner, and for a sport that loves parity, you're going to move away from that. And this is the owners just looking for that short-term money, because this is also money that doesn't have to be shared with the players. Expansion money is all theirs. I also struggle with the fact that, like, the NHL right now is, to me at least, a clear number 4 of the big 4 in the U.S.
Absolutely.
The NFL is not expanding beyond 32 right now. The NBA and MLB are both at 30, and like they will eventually expand. But the NHL is now like, we're going to go to 36. We're going to be well ahead of all you guys. And like, if anyone could expand another couple teams, the NFL, like they would get billions for those expansion. And they're sitting there,
and not just in the U.S.
Yeah, and then we're good right now. Yeah. We're good right now. And hockey going, 36. Let's do it. In this country that in a lot of markets is saying, we're good. We're going to, we'll be there. You got a rink that could fill 15,000 people, we're awarding you an NHL team. And I just don't know if that's going to, long term, going to look good for the business.
Yeah.
You know, another, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Like, I think the NHL is in a big problem with the salary cap in that there's so many teams up against the salary cap, so they're carrying less guys on the roster. And like moving forward, sure, the cap's going to go up, but it's not going to go, then guys are just going to want more and more money. And there was some teams that had a lot of cap space that you could move guys over there, but the number of teams that have cap space are getting lesser and lesser because more and more teams are just getting up against it. Like, that's going to be a big problem, and I don't know how you're going to be able to manage around that. With there's going to be a lot of good players that are going to either have to take minuscule amounts of money compared to what their value is, or not play, and some good players are going to be out of jobs.
The middle class.
The middle class is going to get killed.
The middle class is going to get rinsed out.
Yes.
And sorry, yes, you're probably worth $4 or $5 million, but you're going to have to work for 2.5, and you're going to have to. I mean, what's the old? Your stars are going to be paid, and they should be.
Yep.
And we can argue that, guys like Connor McDavid are underpaid relative to what their importance for the sport.
Touché. Yeah.
But on the bottom end, you better be young and cheap. Thank you very much. Your stall is over there. Have at it.
Here's your 850. Yeah.
Right. And there's going just that middle, of some very, very good hockey players are going to either be not playing or playing for a lot less than they should.
They've been squeezed out.
They have been squeezed out.
That has happened already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems crazy.
Yeah.
Just quickly, I just want to get the New Jersey Devils 5 minutes ago with the statement. Michael McLeod and Cale Foote have been each requested and been granted indefinite leaves of absences from the team. The club will have no further comment at this time. So
Michael McLeod and
Cale Foote.
Calfoot?
Sorry.
Calfoot, yeah.
they were both on the team?
That's Adam's son and Ryan's brother.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe they were part of the 2018 team as well.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we'll see how that keeps progressing, but that's just the latest. New Jersey Devils just announcing that 5 minutes ago. And I had seen on the Nasty chat earlier that they weren't at practice and stuff, but yeah, now the Devils confirming that. Now it's weird to just transition to the next part to this, but with if they, Salt Lake one team, if their goal is 36, is there a Canadian market the NHL will go to?
The next Canadian, just talking again, just conversations that occur. If there's a second or another Canadian team, it's Toronto too. It's not Quebec City. Quebec City is too small.
Hamilton?
No Hamilton.
No, Toronto 2.
Toronto
In
2.
the same rink?
No.
That'd be impossible.
That would never be. Yeah,
Just
and
because
That's
the
been
logo of
floated
the
for
ice.
a bit, hasn't it? Toronto 2?
Toronto 2 because it's legit.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
It
do
would
they
be
only have
Markham,
one
Vaughan,
franchise?
Mississauga, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what's the GTA? Like, isn't it?
It's around 6 million.
That can absolutely house two NHL franchises. And it's going to be miserable for everyone watching TSN and Sportsnet once a second Toronto team comes, because they'll get that second team will get a lot of love on their networks too.
What are those territorial rights worth to the Leafs? I mean, they used to fight the Sabres. They used to fight the, I know money makes a lot of things go away, but what do the Leafs stand if they were to say, okay, look, make us an offer we just cannot refuse?
Yeah.
What does that cost? Jeez.
It's 9 figures, I would think, at the least.
Wow.
No?
To go to Toronto?
For the territorial rights?
Just the
rights.
territorial
'Cause you need
rights.
to get the blessing from the Leafs. And I think the Sabres might have a say in this too.
I'm sure they would.
Yeah, but the NHL could, and everyone could just be like, that's nice, Terry Pagola. You're just the Sabres.
Yeah, they've been around for 50 plus years.
Because,
Yes.
because the TV contract for Canada is going to come up in 2 years. We'll see what happens. The WWE deal on Netflix really makes it interesting, because that streaming deal is coming to the NHL, I think, very soon here. But what would a TV contract in Canada be if now you're adding a second Toronto team? Like, there's a lot of people in Toronto that don't like the Leafs. There's a lot of people in Toronto that are transplants, and that's not their team. Give them their own team.
Yep.
And that's a massive market. And you got New York basically with 3 teams. You got the LA market with 2 teams. You can't tell me Canada doesn't have a city, and we do in Toronto.
We do.
That can house 2 teams. Build a second rink, make it theirs, and there are going to be people that support that.
Yep.
Big time.
But the Leafs would always be Toronto's team.
Yeah.
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 But But the new team will come in and they'll build their following, and it's just like, I don't know fully how it goes always, but you've got the Yankee fans and you got Mets fans.
Yeah.
In Chicago, it's kind of known that the Cubs play, Wrigley's where you want to be seen.
Yeah.
The diehards are
South side,
Southside
North side.
with the White Sox.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what would be created here, is that you'll have the long-time Leafs, but you'll build that following that it's, screw the Leafs. This is my team now.
Well, then that team would probably win a Stanley Cup before the Leafs anyways. And
Could you imagine?
that would
Murray?
be so hilarious. Stanley Cup played in Toronto. It's the Toronto Shamrocks.
Oh, man.
Stanley Cup parade. That would be hilarious.
2034 champions?
Yeah.
Love it.
But I can already hear the complaints, both for a Salt Lake City or Toronto 2 team, that people will bitch and complain that the NHL has made the expansion draft too easy for them to win early. To which I will answer, I can't imagine it going better than how it did for Vegas, and they should do that. And look, Seattle is credible.
Yep. Seattle beat the defending Cup champs in the playoffs.
Right.
Crazy.
Do you not want that for your product?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go through, I mean, I'm old enough to be here for the 67 expansion. Yeah, the St. Louis Blues made the Stanley Cup in their first 2 years because they were, I don't know, in a conference with all the other expansion teams, so they were the best. And then they came up against Montreal and Boston, and they got absolutely speed-bagged and out. But that said, we used to argue, not you and I think we were aligned, but with listeners who said, yeah, but look what they did for Vegas. Yeah. They took their check and they created a system that allowed them to get really damn good fast. Why is that bad? Because hockey says you got to earn it. You got to go through 9 years of awful.
Look at Columbus. 23 years of awful, 24 years of awful.
I can forget they're in the league.
Yep.
Seriously.
You have to still give credit to the management and the people that
Absolutely.
selected those players and did those deals. And Vegas and Seattle went about it two completely different ways.
Good
the
point.
trades that
Amen.
Vegas was making we'll give you this guy but you don't touch this guy.
Dale
and all that.
Town messed up mightily during the
And
Vegas one.
Seattle, I was expecting Seattle to do something similar and make all these side deals to get some other players and stuff, and they made no deals. They just picked. And
Yeah.
So
They have 4 second lines, and that seems to be okay. They had that 9-game heater.
It's
know?
it's a situation one where, look, if I'm someone that's coming in and giving $600-700 million, I'm saying, I don't want to be bad for 10 years. I'm giving you all this money.
Yeah.
I need to sell this to a new market.
Yeah.
No, I need to have a little bit of a competitive team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other side, like if you're a fan base that's upset, if you're an Oilers fan that's upset, well, Derek Cates took the money.
Yeah.
You can't. Your owner took the money. All these owners are agreeing to take the money. They're choosing to agree to this. No franchise could be upset about this because they're all going, give me the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give me the money.
JMO, who's an obscure Ottawa Senator that was taken in the expansion draft? I know you know one. Like, give me like a Laurie Boschman drop or something like that.
well,
Like when they were drafting,
Yeah.
the Sens coming to the league.
They were terrible, remember? Like
Well,
Sylvain Turgeon or something.
Sure, there was, Lance Pitlick.
Yes.
Lance Pitlick was. There is a fantastic book written by Roy McGregor that documents the birth of the Ottawa Senators, and it's a great. I mean, obviously it's dated now, but it's a fascinating look into incompetence.
This is something else.
And it really was. It's a great story, and Pitlick was Brad Marsh there for the start.
I think so.
Tugnut
Yeah.
in goal.
Ron Tugnut, yeah.
But I think the best story, Mel Bridgman's the GM, and we're going back a long time. It's not everybody had laptops. You're probably bringing in a mainframe, into a room.
Yeah.
And they were drafting people that weren't eligible. And the NHL was Ottawa. That player is ineligible. And they're like,
Oh my god.
So that's Seattle coming in and be like, we'll take Leon Draisaitl. No, he's not. No, he's
Yeah,
protected.
ineligible.
Not available.
What about Nuge? No, he's protected too.
yeah.
Damn it. Okay,
It was
hold
just
on a
like
second.
like whack-a-mole.
Hyman then.
Oh
Give us
my
They were
Hyman.
just, Tampa's, got their act together, and
Yep.
Phil Esposito, and they're doing their thing. But man, oh man, it was simpler times.
Well, Ottawa's the one that drafted the dead guy in the CFL too, no?
Yes,
Ottawa
Yeah.
loves to have figured out their draft.
yes,
A dead guy. They drafted a dead guy.
yeah. The Ottawa Rough Riders. Yeah, they said
That was in the 90s too, no?
I think it was the 80s. I
Wow.
think it was late 80s. Yeah, they had a draft, and there was like, not available. Not going to be. Not going to be.
He's not going to be showing up at camp.
Car accident a couple of weeks ago. Got to update your files.
Well, then they should have just played it off as, you know what, we're just honoring him. We wanted to.
Yeah.
We're going to burn a second rounder.
Yeah.
An early one. Yeah. Only one person in this room has made a draft pick in the CFL.
That's right.
Oh, you
Yes,
got the
Orlando Bowen. Yeah. Yeah, as you get late in the late
You
rounds,
remember the name too, which is
as you get late
memory.
and Don Matthews is your head coach, and he just said, "Yeah, we're looking at," and it was truly a whiteboard with available names. He goes, "You pick one."
Oh my gosh.
He goes, "It's not going to matter anyway." I said, "Okay," and they're like, "I don't know, special teams. We need some teams." And then Don would always say the last couple of picks, he goes, "Local." So they can ride their 10 speeds to training camp. I don't want to fly anybody in. So it was always Golden Bear, Yeah.
Okay, so the guy that you picked randomly off the wall, how did it play itself out?
He ended up playing. I don't think he cracked our lineup. He ended up in Toronto and was actually an actor for a time and was in that movie, that series that was shot here. Actually, the NFL shut it down. Was it Playmakers?
Oh, I remember that.
Or was it Ballers? And there were a bunch of CFL guys that had roles in this football series. And the NFL
Game Changer.
Was it Game Changer?
Because that's his motivational speaker title.
Orlando
Game
Bowen.
Yeah.
But the NFL went, this is a little too real. Lots of drug use, and it was a hard look at football. It was it was very good, actually.
Well,
So you had the
congratulations on your pick, though.
Yeah,
He played
You
in
had
the
the
league.
eye for acting
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
saw
yeah, I
something
could
else.
see
You're like,
something.
I saw there's something in this
Never
one.
laid
There was
eyes on
something
him.
special with this one. And
Never laid eyes on the dude.
It's like picking a horse that because it's gray.
Right.
You just liked his name.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that'll work.
Don Ellis is in the nasty chat, also pushing for you to get that CFL book done. So
yes.
get that
Yes,
going.
yes.
Portions of this hour brought to you by the Hive Product Marketing, official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Stock, promotional products that bring the buzz. Check them out at thehiveproductmarketing.com if you're looking for any EST merch. We have some stuff still available. Just head to edmontonsportstock.com. At the top it says Shop EST, and the info is there. And our merch is, again, since they're the official merch partner from the Hive Product Marketing. Are we going to see an upset in the NFL this Sunday? Are we going to see a road team? Because look, the Chiefs, Bill, or Ravens, some people might say, well, the Chiefs not really upset.
Yeah,
They're
I
the
was gonna
third
say, is
seed.
that really an upset?
They are coming in, betting odds. They are the underdog in this one. They're 3.5 point underdogs, whatever. Are we going to see a road team beat the home team this weekend?
Boy, they're both possible for
Yeah,
sure.
they're both absolutely. They're possible. What's the weather like? Respective.
That's a great question. Baltimore weather. Let me double check that. On Sunday at this moment, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's probably about 14,
Yeah, that's
13
good.
degrees or
Weather's
so.
fine,
90% chance of showers.
Okay.
Also a little bit of rain that day. And then Santa Clara, not San Francisco.
No.
It'll be chilly there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sunday, games later. Time's that game? That's 4 o'clock our time, so 3 o'clock their time. At
4:30.
kickoff, 21 degrees, mix of sun and cloud. Wow. Going to drop to, by looking about the end of the game, about 17 degrees. So nice weather out there. And that's that one is Celsius. It's 2 different sites. So
I'm just curious as to,
so weather doesn't look like it'll at all be a factor
No.
in Santa Clara for San Francisco. Ravens game on the cooler side with the chance of rain in that one.
Well, I'm kind of pulling for Detroit because I think it's the best story.
Yeah. They're the best.
If Detroit can do it, but I know you're cheering for Baltimore. So Baltimore, Detroit,
yes.
Baltimore, Detroit.
I take
in
that.
this, yeah.
And I want it for Baltimore for Lamar Jackson. I'm saying, like, I think
This is his chance at the coming out party.
A great player with all of the attributes. And man, early in his career, did he get tagged incorrectly as a guy, a great athlete who couldn't play the position, right? And you can get into all sorts of stereotypes. Like, does he have the right stuff to play quarterback? He does. Yes, he does.
Yep.
And he's not just a running quarterback, right? That was another thing labeled that. I'd love to see him in a Super Bowl. I'd like to see him win, and that organization, which has been in a sport that's hard any day, and it's hard to remain consistently excellent, and they have been.
I have a question. Do people want to see Detroit and Baltimore win because they're A, tired of Kansas City, and
Yes
B,
to that one.
indifferent of San Fran?
Sure. I mean, I think they're both better stories. We all get, unless you're a fan of that team, you don't want a team to continue to win and win and win because it kind of gets old and boring for sure. So I'm buying into that.
America's cheering for the Ravens on Sunday, not for the Ravens, but they don't want the Chiefs to win
Right.
again.
Right.
And they don't. And there's the portion which, whether you agree with it or not, I don't like the criticism of it, but they don't want the Taylor Swift story either to continue. They don't want to be, there's the portion of people that just don't want to hear about Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl, and that whole week and the lead up and her and Travis Kelce. So the Ravens will have a big fan base or like country supporting them for that, for just Sunday. I think the Lions story is going to get a lot of people cheering for them too, just with what's going on there. It doesn't sound like the sexiest Super Bowl though when you think of it,
No,
right?
I was-
like
that's my
Detroit,
thought.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
It doesn't like if we said at the start of here, Detroit, Baltimore, Super Bowl. I don't think a lot of people like yes, give it to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the viewership might be down a little bit, but I mean, before Kansas City started winning, nobody was a Kansas City Chiefs fan, or hardly anybody was. But like Kansas City, who's going to Kansas City for a vacation, right, or whatever? It's just
I've been there.
not a sexy city.
It is not.
Yeah.
Why were you there?
Driving through.
Oh, okay.
Coming back from Oklahoma City.
But
Yeah, but it's. I mean, the numbers will still be eye-popping for a Super Bowl, but you're in terms of the marquee, the curb appeal
Yeah.
of Detroit, Baltimore. But Matt, you may know this. Were they Hard Knocks this year, Detroit, or were they last year? Whoa, no, Miami was Hard Knocks this year.
Miami was this year. I thought the Jets were last year.
Was it Jets last year?
Is it not?
Or the Jets, was it for Aaron Rodgers? I can't remember. I'm just curious as to whether a Hard Knocks team has made it in the year they've been profiled to the Super Bowl, right? Because the way I've seen it is you try to get a team that's got a great story and is on hopefully the rise.
So 2022 Lions were it.
Okay.
The Cardinals, they're doing in-season ones now. The Cardinals had an in-season last year. This year, the Jets were during training camp, and the Dolphins had the in-season.
Right, that's right.
So that's how it's all played out. And yeah, there's rules for whether you're going to be a team that could be in Hard Knocks or not. And if you go through a coaching change, I think you're not eligible for it because it's the first year. Like you have to wait till the second year so that the new coach. Like there's actual rules the NFL puts in place that only certain teams are eligible every year to be featured in Hard Knocks. And I don't think you get much of a choice after that. But there's certain different
Because
things
they
with
used
that.
to have opt-outs, right? Teams would go, nah,
I think so.
we're not comfortable with it for whatever reason they choose. No, I'm
Yeah, for the preseason Hard Knocks, teams get a pass if they have a new coach. They've done it within the past 10 years, and they've been to the playoffs in any of the prior 2 seasons. So, like, the Chiefs aren't eligible. The Ravens won't be eligible.
Yeah.
Lions aren't eligible. 49ers wouldn't be eligible. So those 4 teams are completely out. Like, the Patriots wouldn't be eligible now because they're going through a new coach.
Right.
So it's just that there are, and then at the end of the year, you look and there's like 3 or 4 teams, and the NFL will pick who kind of is the sexiest. And this year was the Jets because Aaron Rodgers was going there.
Otherwise, there's nothing sexy about the Jets.
Don't tell that to Josh Clausen or Mark Michaud.
Yes.
Josh Clausen also on Monday.
Man,
by the way.
with
Hangout.
the NFL would so like that franchise to come to get its act together, to
Right?
be good,
Yeah.
to be not the butt of a joke.
Yep.
It would just that in head office they're like, please God. I mean, the Giants have had their time, and I don't know where they're at on their arc of they're not in a great place, but God, they would love the Jets to be give us one more good run here, could you? Could you?
They got to 2 AFC championship games with Mark Sanchez. Think about that.
Yeah.
They did it the last time they got there. The guy who is the butt end of a joke, no pun intended, because of the butt fumble, and we all mocked the Jets, and we go through all that. But he was their last quarterback to take them, and they got to 2 straight AFC championship games in his first 2 years.
Come on, the NHL loves a good Ranger Stanley Cup final.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's where
and throw him up against LA.
you want the
That was
49ers in the
amazing.
Super Bowl.
Yes.
The 49ers in the Super Bowl is good. That's an iconic franchise for the NFL. They want that. And they would want KC. I think
49ers
that's what it is.
KC is what the league wants for
That
sure.
would be amazing.
Yeah.
For that league, you get and you just get the
Sure.
Star power, man.
Taylor Swift story, which
Yeah.
helps the NFL. Like their NFL will be thrilled by that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any sort of conspiracy to get Taylor Swift there, but like that's going to be great for business for the NFL if those are the 2 teams.
Who's the
that meet.
halftime show this year?
Usher.
Really?
Did he
I know.
pay? Did he pay? Or did they ask?
Don't know because I don't know of anyone who's actually paid.
Right.
There was a year where, because for the longest time it was you got it for free. Or
Yeah.
you just did it because what you got in turn was you get a massive audience that you never
Yes.
can
So
get
you
anywhere
drop
else.
an album as
and then
soon
you
as your
drop an
performance is
album
over, yeah.
or you we're doing a tour concert right away. Like here's my tour dates, here it is. And then the NFL tried getting people to pay 1 year and they were like, no. And then they went back to free. But I don't know if
Is
it's
Jay-Z
changed.
still overseeing?
I believe so. His Rock Nation or whatever it is.
Yeah, Rock Nation.
They're overseeing it, and I don't know if they've gotten to a point yet. I have to look it up a little closer where now people are start paying.
Does Usher excite any of you guys?
10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't absolutely nothing for me. I would probably make sure I'm upstairs getting another glass of wine or something at halftime for
Yes.
that. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one that I'm not going to be excited to like stop and like last year with Rihanna.
Oh, it was
It's like, I
great.
want to watch this.
Right,
I want to
exactly.
see
Yeah.
Rihanna. This year will be, if we're at Century Casino, somebody wants to comes up and talks with me, I'll be more than happy to have that conversation
I'll
because
be
I don't care.
dancing.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Maybe I'll go to a table or something at
Yeah.
that point. Like it's
It's not sexy.
not
No.
for where the NFL has been right now.
No,
like I
it
would have
doesn't-
figured you could have got a more prominent act
100%.
that is current.
Yeah, when you said that, I'm just like, pardon? That's the best the NFL could come up with?
Well, you got to, you have to survey the landscape. I mean, there's no doubt Usher is eminently
Big name,
talented
for
and
sure.
is
Good point.
but to your point, like I'm thinking, what sort of a define? There's a few defining songs of his, but they're all now such large productions that they are a sound and light spectacular. I mean, I know this is a long time ago, but Prince at the Super Bowl in Miami in the rain was, there were a couple of very attractive dancers on stage with him in the pouring rain, but it was a man with a purple guitar and a really kick-ass band
Yep.
playing killer songs in a monsoon.
Yep.
Okay.
With attractive dancers.
With two attractive dancers. And there was not much there. Pretty stripped down. Not a lot of lights. There might have been a big explosion at the end.
He had that
Even Michael Jackson in Pasadena wasn't
Yes.
that
Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl. That was
Pasadena.
yeah. It
Now,
wasn't,
there's a long time. I mean,
Yeah,
I get it.
That was
I get
before
I
it
get
blew up.
good point.
Yeah.
I was like it. I don't know when it kind of really had that switch. You had the like after Janet Jackson incident with Justin Timberlake, they went old school because that was
was safe.
It
The
was
Who,
it
the
was the Who,
Stones.
Stones,
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen. Eventually, I think was more at the tail end of that. You had Tom Petty,
Yeah.
you had Prince, and then they got back into going more current and things like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it would have been just like in the late '90s where the halftime show became pop. Didn't they have like bands before, like marching bands or something in the past? Like it's.
This is Vegas, too.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Usher's bringing friends.
I hope
Like
so.
he's
would-
bringing
you would
different
think,
acts
yeah.
to help make this bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I don't think it could just be Usher. It just doesn't seem very. It doesn't. It seems.
Lil Jon will be there.
You think?
Well,
Is
he
that
basically
tight?
lives at T-Mobile Arena.
Oh, does he?
He's at a lot of Golden Knights games. Yeah.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't know who else they could get in Vegas. Like,
But to
who's
your
doing
point,
the residency
Murray,
right
I mean,
now?
you could swing you can just wave your arm and find somebody with talent
Yeah,
in
for
Vegas.
sure.
Get
Yeah,
Donny
absolutely.
Osmond out there, please.
Yeah, a fake Elvis would be.
There's going to be a lot of those.
Yeah,
They'll show cut to shots in the crowd, and there'll be a bunch of Vegas or
All the cliches.
Yeah, it's gonna be-
every
of
Vegas
course, it's gonna be
cliche
going.
will be rolled out.
Yeah.
Right?
It's I'll be intrigued how they've got a new turf that's being worked on right now.
They
I
did
don't know
that
if-
last year in Arizona, and it was a disaster.
Yes, it
Weird
was.
how that is, eh?
It is crazy. And the players complain about the turf, which was grown specifically for the Super Bowl in AZ, which has the same field build that Vegas has, because Vegas has the
Trays,
field,
right?
The tray.
You bring it in and out.
But did you see the Raiders field at the end of the last game of the season?
Oh,
the end
bad?
zone was destroyed.
Disaster.
It was awful.
Yeah,
like
it
so,
was-
like they actually do need a new turf just in general. But you're right. Like there was a huge issue with the turf last year,
Really bad.
and I think it was a golf connection.
Was that what it was?
I think there was
golf
a
turf?
golf connection with that, or they had a guy that does golf somewhere else or something, and he screwed it up. Like they just didn't see it the same.
Yeah.
how often do they need to replace turf in stadiums?
Dave, you have any idea?
I'm looking at the
And
football
you're
guy.
talking like
Football.
grass, or
Well,
were you
no, not
talking
grass,
the
oh, the net
yeah.
artificial.
Yeah,
well, okay. There's the
since 7 to
NFL.
8?
There's the NFL, and then there's the CFL.
yes.
And I think Winnipeg at now Princess Auto Stadium.
Yes.
It's just been renamed from IG Field. I think they are pulling out the turf, and I think
Yes.
it's had a 10-year run.
Yeah.
10. Okay.
And they're due a new surface here in Edmonton.
Because it was
Well,
put in for
that-
2015 Women's World Cup,
And
Yeah.
they put in soccer turf
Yeah.
as opposed
Yes.
to football turf.
which affected the 2018 Grey Cup because it doesn't
Correct.
freeze at this.
Yeah.
If it freezes worse than the other one,
I wish
and it was
people
a
could
mess.
see the look J-Mo just gave me.
Yeah.
That turf is in rough shape. Well, Murray, you've been
Yes.
on
But
there,
yeah, but who's paying? Who's paying
City.
for that?
right? City has to.
City because the Elks are not in a position to.
Yeah.
And this actually goes back to why the 2026 World Cup was so important, because they would
I know that stadium.
had well, they would have had to put natural gas in, and then they would have probably put artificial after that in,
Right.
and there would have been a few $100 million put into that stadium
Yes,
because the
is
world
well
was coming,
required.
and now Victor. Can't remember how to pronounce his name. The
Cui.
guy, he's the head of CONCACAF. He was the Canadian.
Yes.
He's basically took it from Edmonton and gave it to Vancouver. And
Right.
I won't hold him, and we won't get into that one. I could get angry.
You're getting mad.
I could get
You're
angry
heating up.
again about the 2026 World Cup and how it's not coming here, and very short-sighted.
JMO, the grass, when you guys had it,
Mm-hmm.
back to Murray's question, like how often would the crew go in there and like replace the strip? Remember down the middle?
Yeah, it would die with the
colors.
middle. I mean, you were essentially because they didn't cover it in the off season,
Yeah.
so there was always some level of turf replacement. And I can't recall. I mean, I would be standing there if it was done every season. I guess it depends on how it wintered. What kind of a snow cover you had, and whether, through fertilization and water and sun and all the other stuff to bring it back. But don't forget, team never used the stadium to practice on.
Yeah.
Or never held training camp there. We were down at Concordia.
Right.
And so you only saw Commonwealth on game day. It was used 10 times a year.
Wow.
And that was it, right?
Yeah.
And so it was really nurtured and babied. But because it was off limits.
I remember a concert one time that it was raining and whatnot, and they just destroyed the.
AC/DC?
Is that?
Might
Was
as
it
well-
U2?
Yeah.
U2 destroyed it, I remember.
Yeah.
U2
yeah.
was bad. AC/DC was
God,
so it would have
Lilith
happened then
Fair
too.
was done in the pouring rain and probably screwed it up as well. I mean, it was just not. I know they threw down some level of cover, but the grass field was, in hindsight, I know why it was changed. But looking back on it, you're like, yeah, grass was better for the body. Really was.
Yeah.
As with the great advances in artificial surfaces, as God intended it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there have been complaints like MetLife Stadium.
Life
The
is
NFLPA is
brutal.
pushing
Yeah.
for natural grass everywhere.
Everywhere.
Now.
Yeah.
They want every team
Yes.
in the NFL to go to natural grass because of. And look, we have the advancements in the artificial turf that it's better than. It's not that AstroTurf from back in the day, but it's not the same as
That was
natural.
pavement.
Yes.
With a
Yeah.
thin layer of carpet on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
How do you grow grass in an indoor stadium?
It's the same as the Cards and the Raiders do it.
In and
where-
out on trays.
In and out on trays and stuff.
Really?
So, like, I don't know how you would get away with it in Ford Field in Detroit. Like, that, those ones, like, I don't know how they would get away with it in some of those places. But the NFLPA is pushing hard for the safety, going like, no, we want natural grass in all these places because it's just better for our bodies.
Yeah.
And we need this. And when you're the NFL, that's gonna be an interesting battle to see because you can't come at them and say cost is too much. Like you got those Detroits, you got the Minnesotas, which could say we just don't logistically have the ability to do this.
Yeah.
But everywhere else, I don't know how you could be like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
We won't do this. Like
because Arizona basically, they have a greenhouse essentially outside, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they just
it's a
roll the
parking
stuff
lot.
out and it goes in there. And then when they go, okay, bring it back. Because they don't practice at the stadium, right? They don't practice.
Not
on
off. They have they have their practice facility or whatever.
I think every
Yeah,
team
they
has a
go over-
practice
yeah.
facility
Yeah.
somewhere.
And then you bring it in as probably as close to, the day before.
Yep.
or whatever they need for setup and line painting and whatever else they do.
Vegas has that exact same system.
They do, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's weird that you say that. Like the Cardinals have done training camp at that stadium.
Oh, have they?
I don't know why, but now they have their training facility. Like all teams have their training facility. But I remember them doing. They painted up the lines like the wrong way, so they did like half field, and I was like, why are they there? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It was odd. That's all I'm saying.
Wouldn't there be some advantage to practicing on your home field, your inside the real stadium, and
Well, there was the advantage for the Elks at the time of the Eskimos just because Dwayne Mandrusiak knew the turf and no one else could get on it. So that was the one advantage Edmonton
Yeah.
always had. In your market, I don't know
It
if they
played
would be in
into other
football.
teams' heads, because we wouldn't let them go on the field for walkthroughs. So
Right.
teams used to come in and actually do, get changed, put on, cleats sort of and shorts and come out and do a walkthrough. But in Edmonton, it was like, oh, God, they'd come in and we'd go through a whole song and dance. We'd lock the doors, and then Hugh Campbell would get the city to turn on the sprinklers just as the riders were going out. And we got in it. Trust me, nobody did it better than the Eskimos.
Yeah.
We were practitioners.
Were you part of that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Good.
Well, I was there.
Somebody has to deliver the message.
14 years, Murray. I mean, you
were part of the gamesmanship. I love it.
Well, I was in a heated meeting with Danny Barrett and my counterpart from the Riders, and Danny's saying, "We got to get on the field, man. We promised this Make-A-Wish kid we'd go out and do." And we're like, and I turned to my colleague, who's a dear friend of mine. I said, "You guys used a Make-A-Wish kid and pulled that card on me? Like, really? So you can get on the field?" Wow. I mean, we know we can go low, but like that's even low for us, But yeah, sure, we did all that stuff.
Wow.
We did all that stuff.
Danny Barrett, part of Houston Texans staff.
Yes,
He's been in the NFL for a long time since he left Saskatchewan. He bounced around NCAA and NFL, and he'd been with the Texans for a while.
Wow. Yeah.
So I don't know what running backs coach or something like that. Danny Barrett's still coaching, which is unbelievable.
Kerry Joseph is down in Seattle.
Yeah.
Nice.
The Seahawks.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I liked him. He was way over the hill when he was the Eskimos.
But a great
quarterback.
dude.
But yeah, and
Great dude.
got stuff done too.
The funniest thing about Kerry Joseph, from my experience with him, is he loved golf. Loved to play golf. His swing, I mean, it wasn't Charles Barkley bad.
Oh no.
But it's really bad. And he is a terrible golfer. And oh my God, would he get mad? He'd throw things and cuss and swear, and I'm just like, listen, you're a man of faith, and you're
lower your expectations, dude. You're not that good.
Exactly. Like, my gosh, like his reactions were just like over the top.
I love it
for a guy that he just can't play, but he loved it, right? And yeah, he's a very good guy.
Murray, did you Chubbs Peterson him? It's all in the hips.
Oh,
it's all in the hips, baby. Yeah.
There's a great, Dwayne tells a great story years ago. Jamie McLennan, before he was a New York Islander and starting his NHL career, came in and helped out for a few weeks in training camp in the equipment room. A long time ago, obviously. And so some of the guys are, what does this guy do? And, he's going off to play. He's a hockey player and going to play in the NHL. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Is he any good? Yeah, he's really good at stopping pucks and stuff. Do you want to, and some guy who'd not seen hockey goes, well, I mean, it doesn't look that hard. You sort of shoot at a guy standing there. You've got the ball or puck or whatever. So they set it up where McLennan went out with a glove and a stick, probably didn't need either, and guys took shots on him.
Really?
And a lot of the guys were picking up a hockey stick for the first time, and you're like, okay, you play football and you're good at that, hopefully. He's really good at this sport. It doesn't mean that because you do that, you're good at that.
Right.
So just, settle down here a bit, But sometimes professional athletes go, I see that. Yeah, I can do that. Sure, I got it.
There's a former Oilers goalie,
yes,
who shall remain nameless. I'm just gonna. It's not my story, but I'm gonna kind of skirt around it, and it's very much along those lines. There's a former Oilers goalie that may have had a few libations one night on the road,
Never.
and may have claimed that he was ready to become an MLS goalie when his hockey career was over.
Oh, wow.
And
because
asked
he
for,
watched it and said,
I can do that.
Wow. I took Kamau Peterson to his first ever hockey game. Never seen hockey in his life.
right.
We go to a game, and I mean, as you know, receivers, all they do is run and run and run and run, and they stay on the field. And I mean, they obviously amazing physical condition. Puck drops, and the shift starts, and like 40 seconds later, the players are going on a line change.
Yeah.
Kamau's freaking out. He's like, why are they going off the ice already? They can't be tired already. And I'm just like, oh, yes, they are. And like the differences between the sports and like his naivety to hockey and how that is.
Well, Ricky Ray went to a game. We sent him to his first Oiler game, and he came back, and he goes, do you have a minute? I said, sure. I said, how'd you enjoy the game last night? He goes, I've got some questions about it. I said, okay, Ricky. Wake up, Ricky. It's okay. You can show some energy. And he said, why do they pass it around so much? Like, why don't they just shoot? They know where it's supposed to go, so why don't they just shoot it? And I said, okay, Rick, just sit. The same reason you don't just stand back and heave it 60 yards downfield every play. Because there's process.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, okay, because back and forth, and I don't get it. Like, just shoot it. It's like, okay. So when we play Hamilton on Friday, have at it.
Yeah, just
throw
have
it
that
there.
same philosophy. I
throw it.
love to see how we're going to do.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Although some teams
God
would love
bless
to
them.
see a football team just heave it.
Yeah,
Just
there's
keep it all the
probably
time.
and a bunch
Just
of
keep
fans.
throwing
Just
it.
throw it.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Just send it deep.
We were talking about Danny Kepley earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did he ever tell you the story of when Gretzky and those guys invited him to go out and skate with him?
No, but I'm sure this went well.
Yeah, no, he couldn't even stand up out there, and they gave him a pretty rough time. It wouldn't help him get back to the bench. They just left him out there, and he's like falling all over the place. And it was the way Kepley can tell a story. I mean, I can't tell a story
can't
like
do it justice, but I'm
Danny
sure
Kepley,
that-
but my God, they abused him out there.
And I would counter with, okay, what we're going to do here, guys, Wayne, we're going to hand you the ball, and there's a hole that's going to open. And angry man wearing a 42 is going to be waiting for you. 8 yards. Good luck.
Yeah,
Have at it.
yeah,
See, just
exactly.
have at it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Wish you all the best.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we used to show there prior to start of training camp. They would show a video, a montage of a bunch of stuff to get guys, newcomers, people that kind of didn't know the franchise, didn't know the history, and all that stuff. And there was a clip, and God, I could still see this meeting. It was done on the Saturday afternoon, camp first on field on the Sunday. And we're all in there. Everybody's being introduced, and and this is what I do, and you'll see a lot of me, blah, blah, blah. And then they roll the video. And we hit the clip, the chunk of where Kep hits the guy in the Grey Cup from Ottawa. Famous. You've seen it a million times. Guy running back, cuts through the line. And, hey, I got daylight until Kep arrives. And it is, you wince. So we stop it. Lights come back on, and you can hear people like, oh, damn, whoa.
Yeah.
And they're like, who's that dude? Who is that guy? And we just go, guy in the back with the Diet Coke and the curved fingers. That's him. And they're like, whoa, that's some bad stuff. And they're like, yeah.
He's a bad man.
Yeah, he's a bad man.
You go have a chat with him later when maybe you're feeling like your hamstring's a bit tight. Yeah.
We just got a few more minutes here on the EST Hangout, presented by Mott's, Clamato, Caesar, Matt Iwanyk, Dave Jamieson, Murray McCourt, Tom Gazzola. 2 more games for the Oilers before the bye week. Mm-hmm. Do they sweep January? Do they extend this to
They're
16
playing my
games?
Blackhawks tomorrow night. Oilers on a 14
Who, by the way,
game
assigned
winning
Peter Mrazek
streak.
to a 2-year extension.
Yes, sure did.
they should.
4.25. Yeah, he's been awesome. So
Yeah.
Blackhawks are on a 14-game road losing streak right now. Oilers on a 14-game winning streak.
Ooh. So you're saying there's a chance?
Now, if there's ever a free space on the bingo card right now,
Yeah.
It's that one. So
And they're in Seattle tonight.
they're in Seattle.
They gotta
tonight.
drive-
They
fly out
beat
there pretty
Chicago. They beat
Yeah.
Chicago, and that's
easy.
But then it's the 2 o'clock Nashville game, Dave. That means a matinee.
but 2:00 here.
But
Right.
still,
2 o'clock.
It's
That's
early. It's
on the road.
afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think they could sweep this month.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Very,
just wild
very
to
doable.
think.
Very
Crazy.
doable. Yeah.
They haven't lost in 2024. Like, we're not talking about just a couple days into 24. It's 24 days into this month.
Yeah.
They will go into 25 with having been unbeaten in this calendar year, which is just incredible to see.
Knobloch and Bonus doing the best coaching jobs in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm open for debate on it. I'm just
Actually, could Knobloch be a nominee for Coach of the Year, Jack Adams?
He came in at what? 2 or 3-9-1 because they won that last game with Woodcroft, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I
How
think
could he
could
not be in consideration?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because often,
I'd be-
because the thing that will go against coaches often is that the Oilers are supposed to be good this year. And that's
But
what
they
goes
were
against
literally the
where
worst
it's,
team.
you're supposed to be good, so you don't get the credit. Like where no one was expecting the Jets to do what they're doing.
McDavid
so bonus
effect,
will get
right?
There's
why-
Rick Tocchet in Vancouver. No one was expecting this from the Canucks.
Yeah,
He'll get
right.
there. It's
Oh,
often
yeah.
given
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
coaches that their team beat expectations,
Yeah.
not who had the greatest coaching year. Last year, with the Bruins, like Montgomery,
Yep.
that was one where like best coaching job got
Yeah.
it. Like that was just one of those. But John Cooper's never won the award. You can't tell me no given year he's been the best coach.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, can Chris Knobloch claw into that because the narrative that the Oilers were supposed to be this year, they were Stanley Cup favorites, or are people gonna? I don't know who votes on the Jack Adams, or are people gonna look at him like, no, he could be a finalist because look at what he's done with this team.
I love the Jets roster, though. I think they're finally playing
Oh, yeah.
up to their capabilities because that roster has been really good,
They're
and
good.
they've been not living up to the expectations. They finally are
Yeah.
meeting their expectations, is how I feel about them. But yeah, Knobloch's knocked it out of the park, and yeah, kudos to him.
That's a good catch by you. Tocchet has done a terrific
Yeah.
job out there, and I wasn't, really wasn't sold, mind you, when
I
you're,
agree.
when you're in Arizona. I mean, really, and I just wasn't sure what you were getting.
And he wasn't great with Tampa either.
That's
People
right.
forget he was with Tampa as
Yes.
the head coach
Oh,
briefly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was surprised by that hire. I didn't see him as a guy that could do what he's
Yeah.
done. So
And Eric Stewart in the Nasty Chat, Knob should not be considered for Coach of the Year. Oilers are just good. He doesn't deserve it. And that to me is where the line is. People don't look at coach. They want to look at what teams do
Yeah.
over exceeding.
Yeah.
And not looking at, okay, well, is Chris Knobloch
I
actually doing a
understand that.
really good coaching job with this team and has done a lot of good things with this team that has helped them get to where they should be. And that's that's one of the issues I always have with the Jack Adams is it's not the Coach of the Year to me. It's just most improved team almost. The coach is
true.
getting it.
I still have this question, and to that comment is the Oilers were going to turn it around. I don't necessarily know that they needed the coaching change to do it, but they had a good coach who's going to
Yep.
coach again in this league, and just nothing was working. And I kind of feel like if he was still the coach, would they be 14 in a row? I mean, maybe not, but I think they would be pretty close to where
Back
they
in
are
the
right
mix.
now.
They would have
Be in
turned
the
it
mix.
around.
Yeah, they
They
were too
wouldn't have
good
gone
not
on
to.
this streak.
No,
I don't think they could have reached the heights.
I think one thing
It was due to come at some point that they were going to flip it around with. They were just too good.
Yeah. I think at this point, one thing we can acknowledge or start to see a clearer picture of, especially being around the team now, is Knobloch, Mark Stewart deserves a lot of credit. Yes, Paul Coffey, Glenn Gulletson, who's been around for a while. The influx of information overpowering guys with information. I think they've simplified things and just allowed the guys to go out there and play their game and just give them little adjustments here and there. So maybe the strategy from the coaching staff has changed, which has opened things up for the players who are supposed to be a contender to just go out there, play their game, and generally know their jobs out there. And so, to their credit, they've been able to do that. That's the one thing that's kind of popped up is like there was a lot of information being fed to them, how they processed it. Maybe they weren't processing it as well, and we're getting confused out there. Maybe just allowing them to go out there and play with some general guidelines has helped get them back into
think less.
form.
well, as JMO was talking earlier, Ryan McLeod, Warren Fogle. I mean, those two guys have taken huge steps
Yeah, they
under
really
this
have.
coaching staff. So, I mean, is that a coaching thing? Possibly. Or did those guys just figure it out? I don't know, but
Fogel was coming around, but yeah, McLeod.
McLeodd, yeah.
It's got to be a bit of column A, column B.
Yeah.
I don't think we could ever look and like.
They're healthy now, relatively, right? Like,
Like,
Well, Ekholm was not healthy.
No.
he was not.
Early on, absolutely not. So his health, McDavid health,
McLeod.
So those are all factors. Stewart was not going to play at that level. Draisaitl and McDavid weren't scoring. I mean, you knew they were going to score.
They were too good
yeah.
to be that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
They were just simply too good a team to be that. But, you are your record.
Yep.
But still, when I was watching it, I go, there is no possible way this team is this.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
There's too much here.
Yeah.
That San Jose game, man. It was just like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, San Jose's won 2 in a row again now.
We're beating good teams too. It's crazy.
anyone, and that's the thing with Thursday. I mean, the Blackhawks roster is completely depleted. They've lost all 14 in a row on the road.
Push Rose a little bit earlier
There's
this month.
Still NHL players, and Mrazek's been playing out of his mind. Lately, and the Blackhawks aren't getting blown out by anybody. They're, like Vancouver beat them 2-0 the other day. They can't score since Bedard's been hurt, and they have a bunch of other guys out of the lineup. They can't score. So, I mean, if the Oilers put up 3, they're going to win for sure.
Sometimes they're playing those teams where you just got a bunch of non-NHLers could be dangerous because
they're working their butts off.
Yeah,
and
this is their chance.
This
is their chance.
A Luke Richardson team is not. It may lose, but it won't lose because of a lack of diligence, a lack of effort.
Right,
it's going to go down not on the first punch.
Yeah.
I
like that.
They pushed the Oilers earlier, right? Like. Oilers got through it, but this month they did push the Oilers quite a bit. That's going to do it for the EST Hangout on this Wednesday. Up next, it is the Lock Shop. Dusty and Huss, and then at noon, Tommy and Dusty will be on with the Oil Stream to recap the 14th straight win by the Edmonton Oilers. Look at Stuart Skinner setting the franchise record for consecutive wins by a goalie, which again, just going back to Oiler history, like setting franchise records is just absolutely incredible. And look ahead to the game against the Blackhawks tomorrow. Murray, Dave, appreciate the time. Thanks for coming in.
Always.
And it's good seeing you, Dave. And we'll see you next week at some point, Murray.
You bet. Love doing it.
On behalf of Tom, Murray, Dave, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning into the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. Up next in just a few minutes, it is the Lock Shop right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.